Welcome everybody to the Contextual Christian Church Bible Study, where today we will be getting into 2 Samuel chapter 3, verse 6 through 10 is the first portion. Again, that's 2 Samuel chapter 3, verse 6 through 10 is the first section. And I'll go ahead and pray us in, and then Charles will go ahead with the summary from last time. Bow your heads. Father, thank you for this time you've given us to be able to study your word. We're sorry that we didn't take time to prepare for yesterday, or I didn't take the proper time to prepare for yesterday, thinking that the signal area was good for a phone call, but wasn't good for a study. So I pray as we go into today's study that the mistakes that were made yesterday are not made, and that we can be better focused and understanding and getting the context in a very easier way. So that it's not a question and Lord willing, if you're willing, that there be not even a need for one single correction in your son's holy and precious name, Jesus Christ, Yeshua. Amen. And go
Amen.
ahead, Charles,
Amen.
with the summary.
Let me get off what I remember. We talked about David's kids, 6 kids through 6 different women. That was in Second Samuel chapter 3, verses 1 through 5. But in the part where we got into Second Samuel chapter 2, verses 24 to 32. Let me reread something real quick.
Not a problem. Oh, while you're reading, one correction I forgot to give because wasn't able to see it till I was cropping the video for YouTube. Is you said that David was there with his men during that fight of the servants. It never said David was there. It said that David's servants were there. That's a big difference in context. Just a heads up. I almost forgot to
Yeah,
add that part. So
I'll have to reread and double check that.
yeah.
Um, we have, well, from what we read in Second Samuel chapter 2, verses 24 to 32, we have Joab, Abishai, which is what I brought up last time was Team David. They stopped with the pursuit of Abner. Um, After Abner had asked, when are we going to stop killing each other? When are we going to stop slaughtering each other by the sword? After that, Joab blew a trumpet. They went their separate ways. We have, what's a way I could make this for a 5-year-old to understand? Basically, we have a kill count of the servants of David and who they killed as far as they killed in Benjamin. We have a kill count of who died, and this is who died of the tribe of Benjamin of 360, three score,
No, good
360.
try. No.
But the servants of David had smitten of Benjamin and
But what
Abner
did it
and
say
of
just
Abner's
before
men.
that part?
And Joab returned from following Abner, and when he had gathered all the people together, there lacked of David's servants 19 men of Ashael.
So is it just the tribe of Benjamin that lost people? Remember we
Well,
talked about that yesterday.
I didn't bring up the 19 of David's side. So David
But
has
remember we
19 on
talked
his
about
side.
that yesterday. That was part of the 360.
Let me see, because we have a period that separates the 19 from what David's servants had did.
But look at the end of the next sentence, comma, so that the total or so that this amount total died. That would include the 19 and Abishai, which is 20. I mean, no, not Abishai, Azahel, which is 20. Remember when Chris was reading? We talked about this yesterday.
I never got a chance to call you back about that. Yeah, I didn't see it as a to ask you about that because the period separates it. So I don't. That's why I'm confused on why you added it since we have
It's
a
the way that
period
it's
that
phrased. The
separates the
period
servants.
is not separating the number, it's making an end of a statement. But if we look at from that verse, where is it?
Verse 30 and 31.
Verse 30 and 31. And Joab returned from following Abner, and when he had gathered all the people together, there lacked of David's servants 19 men and Asahel. What is the word but? What is that used for? I'm
Separation.
telling you, well, it's not a separation, it's a distinction. Usually it's to add something contrary. So there were 19 people that died, 20 people that died from David's side, but the servants of David had smitten of Benjamin and of Abner's men, so that 303 score men died. Notice how it didn't say 303 score men of them died. It just says that died total.
Oh yeah, it didn't specify. So
Yeah.
So both sides lost 360 men total. David's side and, well, I'll say Team Saul, which is Abner and Ishbosheth. Both sides lost 360 men. Now, I already brought up that they went their separate ways. Last thing I need to bring up is Abner had killed a brother of Joab, Asahel. They buried him like in the same place where his father's burial place would be, which is in Bethlehem, and that's pretty much it. Because I already talked about the kids. I started off with that.
There's
So
one
we'll
other
be
thing I
reading
would add.
off. Go ahead.
In the section from verse 2 where it started talking about his wives and the children, it goes out of its way to specify for certain wives but not others. So some wives' names we might want to keep our eyes open for are Ahinoam, Abigail, Maacah, and Eglah. So keep those names in mind, because there was other wives that David had, but it went out of its way to specify details for those four, whereas the others just get listed, showing that there's something of importance possibly. Other than that, good. So now, Dad, go ahead and unmute yourself and then say what we're going to be reading, and then give people a second in case they're reading their own Bibles instead of watching on the screen. Gotta unmute yourself, Dad.
Yeah, sorry, I was on the other, I was at the Bible or the other screen.
Not a problem.
We're going to be going over 2 Samuel, 3rd chapter, verses 6 through 10. And I'm going to give everyone about 15 seconds to get there. If you have if you're reading off the screen or if you're reading from the book, either one.
15's a bit much. You could give him about 7.
Okay, 7 it is. All right, can everyone hear me? I hope.
Yep.
All right. And it came to pass, while there was war between the house of Saul and the house of David, that Abner made herself strong for the house of Saul.
Herself?
What was that?
Herself?
Made himself, excuse me, my screen's a little blurry. Made himself strong of the house of Saul. And Saul had a concubine whose name was Rizpah.
Rizpah.
Rizpah. the
Yeah.
daughter of Aiah, or is that an L?
I
Allah?
that's a I.
Aiah. Okay. Daughter of Aiah and Ishbosheth, and to Abner. Wherefore
Said to Abner.
said to excuse me, Basa said to Abner, wherefore hast thou gone in unto my father's concubine? Then was Abner very wroth for the words of Ishbosheth had said, am I a dog's head, which against Judah do slew kindness this day unto the house of Saul thy father, to his brethren and to his friends, and have not delivered thee into the hand of David, that thou chargest me today with the fault concerning this woman? Um,
Keep
so
going. You're going through 10.
yeah, so do God to Abner, and more also, except as the Lord hath sworn to David, even so I do to him, to translate the kingdom from the house of Saul, and to set up the throne of David over Israel and over Judah, from Dan even to Beersheba. Okay, gonna have to go one by one. Starting with verse 6. It's saying that it came time that while the war between Saul and David, that Abner made herself sort of
Herself?
himself. Abner made himself. I don't know why I do that. Adam made Adam made himself strong for the house now of Saul, and what that tells me is that he wanted to side with Saul, to give him support.
No. Saul is already sorry about that. Saul
Sorry.
is already dead. The house of Saul is the people that came from Saul. Like the house of Judah is the tribe of Judah.
Right. What I should
So
say is
he was part of Saul's side. Remember
right.
in Charles's summary, he said that there was the side of Saul and the side of David. Abner was on the side of Saul.
Got it. Okay.
So it's an expression meaning their side or their people.
Okay. So he was basically supporting his side. Okay. You know, he wanted
It's
to be.
close, but think of it more abstract than that.
So if
You're
it
taking it
says
too literal.
strong for the house, I mean, I guess he wanted to do anything he could.
Well, you're focused too much on the word for.
Okay.
Abner made himself strong for the house of Saul.
Okay.
So that doesn't mean that he's necessarily you're focused on the fact it's for the house. That could also be, and more likely be, that it's that he was strong compared to everybody else. So
Okay.
like saying,
More of an inner expression then.
well, we use the same expression today.
Yeah.
Arthur is strong for a child.
Right. Now, does that mean he's physically strong, or are we talking about content in his brain strong?
It could be either way. He could be strong in strength of physical. It could be mental. It could be that he just
Spiritual?
stands out in strategy. There's many ways to show himself to be strong, but we
That
know
isn't-
compared to the other parts of Saul's people, I mean, he stood out as being strong comparatively. Now, normally in this time frame, that would mean that he was physically
right.
and mentally both. Like, he stood out among of everybody else.
Okay,
Now, keep in mind that Saul is dead already at this point, and go
right.
ahead with 17.
And it was not David that killed him. I went over that. It was um, his arms bearer, I guess.
No. He wanted his armor bearer to kill him, but the armor bearer rejected it, so Saul killed himself.
He committed suicide by falling on
Yeah.
his sword.
Yeah, there you go. So now keep that in mind as we go in verse 7 for the explanation.
Okay. And Saul had a concubine whose name was Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, and Ishbosheth said to Abner,
You're pausing incorrectly when you say that. There's a colon after Aiah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm supposed to pause more. Okay.
Yeah, because that changes it when you go there. It's like the daughter of Aiah. And
Right.
Ishbosheth said to Abner, it's not Aiah and Ishbosheth. We're not talking about the two parents. We're
Right.
talking about one parent and then the next statement.
Got it.
And this
Okay.
is a good lesson for everybody considering this. Make sure you pay attention to the punctuation. Leaving out the punctuation there changes the entire context. Where at one point, Aiah would be the female and Ishbosheth be the man, but now we're just talking about Aiah as the parent. I mean,
Very good. Okay.
and then we go into the next statement that Ishbosheth said to Abner. All right, cool. So go ahead with that part.
Wherefore hast thou gone in unto my father's concubine? Question mark. There was Abner, who was very wroth for the words of Ishbosheth, and said, Am I a dog's head, which against Judah do shew kindness this day unto the house of Saul thy father, to his brethren and to his friends, and have not delivered thee into the hand of David, that thou
No,
chargest?
remember, you're not reading, you're doing explanation.
Oh, explanation. Okay, my bad. Anyway,
Gotta focus.
yeah. So basically, David goes in on Saul's concubine. Abner's
No,
pissed.
Did it say that he went into her?
Went into my father's concubine.
But who's speaking that?
Abner speaking that.
No. What'd I say about guessing? Come on, Dad.
Hold on, where's that gone? Is that Rizpah?
You're guessing. Start from don't forget the semicolon. There's a pause there.
The colon near Aiah.
And then after that, what does it say?
Says Ishbosheth
Yeah.
said.
Ishbosheth said to Abner. So do we know if Abner went into the concubine?
No.
Exactly. We only know that Saul had a concubine, and we know that Ishbosheth is accusing Abner of sleeping with his father's concubine. Saul is Ishbosheth's father.
Okay.
So we know the accusation is there, but we don't know if it actually happened.
Right.
And then we see Abner's response to it, the accusation. Now, something that you wouldn't know, am I a dog's head is a phrase from that time frame that basically means, am I worthless?
Am I chopped liver?
Yeah, kind of like in today's day and age where somebody would say, what kind of man do you think I am? What kind of
Don't,
person you think I am? It's the
don't
same
answer.
kind of phrase meaning.
Okay, very good.
All right, so
And,
keep that in mind. So Abner, but it said Abner was very wroth, right? Do you remember what
and
wroth means?
yeah, he's like really, really angry. He's foaming at the mouth almost.
Yeah, pretty exactly. It's like almost foaming at the mouth. He's so pissed.
Yeah.
So we have here from that section, and you seem a little drowsy, so I'm gonna help you out a little bit this one time.
Uh,
So we have Abner is so mad because of the accusation from Ishbosheth. Ishbosheth is accusing Abner of sleeping with his father's concubine. Now, a concubine is different than what's the word? A
you may
prostitute.
have, or
Harlot, harlot. A harlot is a prostitute.
what about
Harlot is a woman
mistress?
that would have sex for money. A concubine was a servant of a man. And
Sounds like
with
a
those
mistress.
servants, they would be married to them, which is why they could have sex with them. Very
Okay.
different.
So concubine was sort of in a rare position, I guess you could say.
It was like a wife that held less value, like a side chick, but it's a wife.
Right. Like a mistress.
Yeah, there you go. But you're actually married to her.
Right. Interesting.
So then in that we have that the accusation, then Abner's pissed and it goes down. He's like, bro, like I was sitting here, I've done nothing but kindness, even to this day, to your father's house, to all his people, and to his friends. And I haven't delivered him into the hand of David. So I haven't given him to his enemies. I could like basically I could have done so much wrong against him. And I
Right.
haven't done none of that. And you accuse me of something like this? You know what that's like? That's like if I was visiting Tremaine's house and I lost my car keys and I asked Tremaine, bro, what'd you do with my car keys? Not even considering the fact that I may have lost them, straight accusing him. Like, bro, why are you accusing me? What have I done? Bro, I ain't done nothing to you for you to be accusing me of this.
Right.
So then in the next section, go ahead in verse 9, the explanation.
Yeah, it says so to God, so God's now speaking to Abner.
No,
Um
no, 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 no. This is Abner speaking. Remember,
Abner speaking
Abner is
to God.
responding to Ishbosheth. Remember,
Okay.
at the end of 8, he said to him, he said, and have not delivered thee into David in the hand of David, that thou charges me today with fault concerning this woman. So I've done all these things, and you want to sit here and try to say that I did that I did that? And then he continues speaking to him. So this is still Abner talking to Ishbosheth,
Gotcha.
pissed off about the accusation.
So it says, okay, um, so Abner is speaking to God, is that right?
No, remember I just said that.
He said,
All right, Dad, you're going backwards today. This
I
me,
apologize, but
remember to take it piece by piece. Do you have your notes up?
yeah, I got my notes.
And you got your 5 W's written down?
I got my who, what, where, when, how, all
So
down.
we know the who is Abner talking to Ishbosheth. Just because, and this is something all of you guys need to take into account. You all do this, even you sometimes, Charles, but not nowhere near as much as you used to. You've come a great long way with this, but there have been a couple times you did this. Everybody, when it says God, that does not mean that God is speaking. And when it says God, that does not mean that someone is speaking to God. They can talk about God in third person. Stop assuming that when you see the word God, that, oh, they're talking to God, or or God is speaking to them. You're guessing and you're not reading. You're not getting the context. You guys got to stop doing that.
Yeah, I did not know that. That's brand new to me. Okay.
Well, it's been a few times that's happened, so I wanted to point this out this once because I've noticed it and I want to make sure I give that correction.
Okay. No, I appreciate it.
Now, what does the word do mean? It means to do something. It's to perform an action, right?
Right.
Now, what was the action that was just happened? Or what was he accused of? He was accused of sleeping with his masters, or the one above him, Saul. He was accused of sleeping with Saul's concubine.
And it
Then
does.
he says this part, and he says, "So do God to Abner." Now remember, this is Abner talking, right?
Right.
So Abner says, "So do God to Abner, and more also, except as the Lord hath sworn to David, even so I do to him."
So
Him
he's
being the Saul.
to Saul.
The him at the end, even so I do to him. So as much as God has swore that he would take care of David and be there for David and lift up David, I do
Right.
the same to Saul. So what is the first part? So do God to Abner and more also.
I'm lost with that line, really.
It's because you're not looking at like I just said, what was the last act that was talked about? What did he get accused of?
Going into Saul's concubine, sleeping with her.
Okay, and the next thing he said is, so do God, and this is Abner speaking, so
Right.
do God to Abner and more also. So what is Abner saying?
So to God to Abner, and
Remember, this is Abner speaking.
Abner speaking is
This is why you need to be more on Bible study, Dad. You've gone real backwards. It's like it's your first time again. And last time you did so well that you were doing better than others. You can't keep missing Bible study.
yeah.
This is what happens.
So to
Now
God
it's like
to
it's your
Abner,
first
and
time.
except as the Lord has sworn to David. It's basically telling him that he's going to do the same to David as he did to Saul. He's going to.
No, a good try. From now on, try to be on Bible study more. At the end of verse 8, it says that he was accused. It shows that Abner was accused of sleeping with Saul's wife. Then he says, so do God to Abner, or in other words, himself. So he's saying, except as the Lord has sworn to David. What did the Lord swear to David? That he would take care of him and build him up and make him king and do all that. Even so I do to him. So if I, as Abner, I'm talking from his perspective, explaining what he said, if I, as Abner, don't do right by Saul in the same way that the Lord swore that he would do right by David, then let God have somebody else sleep with my concubine, or even worse to me.
Whoa. Okay, that is very different than what I would have guessed.
That's why you don't guess. You take the context from the reading.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for everybody listening that's writing down the reading portion for the 5 W's, sleeping with the concubine, or being accused of sleeping with Saul's concubine, that would go under the what? That's an important context point for the what.
That's a situation
That's
where
no, not the situation. That's the accusation.
accusation.
Situation means it's actually happening. An
Right.
accusation means It may or may not, but somebody's saying you did. And then on the final portion, verse 10, it continues in the same token about how Lord had sworn to David, even so do to him. And notice it's a semicolon. That means it's connected, but it's an extra detail or a side point. To translate the kingdom from the house of Saul to set up the throne of David over Israel and over Judah, from Dan even to Beersheba. So what he's saying, if I don't do right, and the him in here, actually I was wrong. Him does not mean Saul from that. The him is actually David. If I don't do right by in the way that God said, swore to take care of David and build him up and give his kingdom, even to transfer. Translate is also like to transfer over.
Okay.
To transfer the kingdom from Saul's house and to set up David's throne. So if I don't do right by David as God swore he would do right by David, to make him king over all Israel and over these areas, then let God make somebody to sleep with my concubine or do even worse to me than that. That's what it's saying between 9 and 10.
To transfer the kingdom from the house of Saul to David, and over Israel, to be king over Israel and to Judah.
Yep.
And then it mentions from Dan even to Beersheba. I know Dan is one of the 12 tribes.
Also the name of the location. When the tribes took over the areas that they got, the cities or the areas got named after the tribes.
Ooh, that's interesting. Okay.
Right, the country of Israel is named after Jacob when he was renamed to Israel. Originally started with a name, now it's also the location.
Okay.
All right, so that's the end for that one. Does anybody, I'll give everybody a chance if you have anything you want to ask or say before we go to the next section. Go ahead and raise your hand under reactions and raise hand. I'll give about 7 seconds in case you want to, starting now. All right. Then go ahead, Chris, and unmute yourself. And Dad, I'm going to mute you. And then, Chris, you can go ahead and read this one.
All right. Giving everybody a second to get there. Put my notebook down.
And don't forget to keep in mind who is involved and what's going on.
Right. So if I'm not mistaken, I wrote Abner and Rizpah, right?
No, Rizpah was just a side point. Remember, there was a colon.
That was the concubines.
No. Abner was talking about that. He said that God do worse to me than that if I don't do right and set up David's kingdom. But who was he talking to? Who was making that accusation?
It wasn't Ishbosheth, what?
Yeah, it was.
It was? Oh, I don't know what I'm thinking there.
This is what I'm saying. When you're going through your who, what, when, where, why, how, you need to keep in mind who's doing what. You guys got sidetracked by the fact that Rizpah's name was mentioned. But Rizpah never spoke, never did anything. All it did was say that she was the concubine, that he was a concubine. That's all it says, is that she was Saul's concubine and the daughter of Aisha. After that, we got into Ishbosheth talking. And Ishbosheth accused Abner. Then Abner responded. So in this context, there's only two people involved.
Abner and Ishbosheth.
There you go. And Abner just called out Ishbosheth and also defended himself. Now we in this portion.
Right. All right. So, and he could not answer Abner a word again because he feared him, David, Abner, and Joab. And Abner sent messengers to David on his behalf, saying, "Whose is this land?" Saying also, "Make thy league with me, and behold, my hand shall be with thee, to bring about all Israel unto thee." And he said, "Well, I will make a league with thee, but one thing I require of thee, that is, thou shalt not see my face, except thou first bring Michal,
Michal.
except thou first bring Michal, Saul's daughter, when thou comest to see my face." And David sent messengers to Ishbosheth, Saul's son, saying, "Deliver me my wife Michal, which I espoused to me for 100 foreskins of the Philistines." Oh, I remember that.
Good.
And Ishbosheth sent and took her from her husband, even from Phaltiel,
Altiel. Yep.
the son of Laish.
Good.
So Ishbosheth got spooked, couldn't speak. And well, I don't know if I should mention this because it does say it. Ishbosheth was afraid of David, Abner, and Joab.
Yep.
Okay.
Wait. No. It just says he feared him, and then there's a period.
Right.
David,
And then
Abner,
it
and
just,
Joab. That's just giving a heads up of what's coming up in the next section.
oh, okay. Okay.
Sometimes the U version Bible does that. David, Abner, and Joab. But you could tell at the end of statement feared him.
Got you. Okay. I just want, because I didn't know why they put it there like that.
Yeah, it's stupid that they do it, but it's the I gotta find a different Bible app that doesn't do that. But yeah.
All right. Excuse me. So Abner sent some messengers to David asking basically to form an allegiance.
Yeah.
And David accepted, but on the condition, well, at first he was like, "Don't see my face until you bring me Michal," which is who he took the 100 foreskins for. And I know this was a long time ago because I was still working at Amazon, but didn't he do a couple more than 100?
Yeah, he doubled it up. He did 200.
Yeah, that's
He
what I
was only
thought.
supposed to do 100.
But that, you got to be down because I ain't doing that. All right, and then
Now, why is Michal not with David? Why do they have to give Michal to David? If it's his wife.
if I'm not mistaken, didn't you say Saul gave her away?
Yep, when Saul had came back from trying to kill David and David let him go, Saul had given Michal away to somebody else, as we just
Right.
read about the other person.
Got you.
And what was his name?
What? Who he was given to, or who
Yeah.
she was given to?
Yep.
Phaltiel, the son of Laish.
Good.
But yeah, David sent the messengers to Ishbosheth to get Michal back to David, and they took her. And that's the end of the summer.
Exactly. Good. Now, we don't know necessarily if it's going to work out, but we do know what his conditions are.
Right.
And this also brings into point about what kind of man Saul was. How can you give away somebody's wife to marry somebody else? When somebody is in wickedness and wants to do whatever they want and not think about anything of righteousness or any care at all, they'll do things like this. And it doesn't even have to be as bad as a wife. There have been instances in different cultures where the mom or dad did not want the son or daughter to marry the other person because they were a different race or a different culture. So they would give the son or daughter to somebody else after they had already agreed upon everything with the other family. This happened with Jacob also with his two wives, Hannah and Rachel. I mean, Leah, Rachel and Leah, where Jacob wanted Rachel. He didn't want Leah. Leah was the oldest. But Jacob's uncle didn't tell him this. And they were in burqas, or they were covered up in different ways back then. So when Jacob had been drunk and they had the marriage ceremony and everything, and then he had gone down and had sex with his wife, turned out when he woke up and he realized that it was Leah, not Rachel. And then he had to work another 7 years for Rachel. So he worked a total of, I believe it was 21 years or so before he was actually able to take his wives and go, when he only wanted to go for the one wife. So there's multiple examples of where someone can do someone dirty in this way. Now, on to the final section. And Charles, go ahead and unmute yourself. And good job, Chris. You didn't make no mistakes, like no real mistakes.
Real quick, I'm going to be reading 2 Samuel chapter 3, verses 16 to 18. Matt, do you want me to read a little further?
No, because it goes into a different context after this point. I took into account the 5 W's and where it changes the most. It changes the most out of the 8 verses between 18 to 19. There's a little bit of change from 19 to 20 and even 20 to 21 or to 22. But the most change is from 18 to 19.
I was thinking stopping at 21 because now Abner's gone from the situation. Well, let me read it first because now I'm just giving away what's going to happen next. Let me go ahead and read it. So, yeah, 2 Samuel chapter 3. I'm going to be reading verses 16 to 18. I'll just give it 5 seconds. Verse 16. And her husband went with her along weeping behind her to Baurim. Then said Abner unto him, Go and return. Oh, go, return. And he returned. And Abner had communication with the elders of Israel, saying, Ye sought for David in the times past to be king over you. Now then do it. For the Lord hath spoken of David, saying, By the hand of my servant David, I will save my people Israel out of the hand of the Philistines and out of the hand of all their enemies. Now, Matt, we never read that Abner knew that the Lord was going to make David king. We only read that Samuel knew, the people around Samuel, David knew, David's family knew. I don't think we have not read about Abner knowing this. Saul, I think Saul knew. Yeah. Saul knew. Saul was told. No. Take that back. I think we did read that when take back what I just said. I think we did read where Saul and Abner heard about it. But now Michal's coming back to David. They're making sure they're giving back Michal, Michal, the wife, the first wife. And the husband's dragging around, and Abner's like, man, go back to where you came from. So he left. And so now Abner is communicating with the elders of Israel about what I was trying to bring up about the Lord making David king. And he's letting them know, let's just go ahead and get this done. Let's make it happen. Let's make David king over Israel. Because David is the one, well, like the Lord said, once David becomes king, he's going to deliver Israel out of the Philistines' hand and deliver them out of the enemies, whatever enemies the children of Israel have. But I want to go back and, not now, I'm going to go back after this and read, did Abner even know about this? I think it's funny that he brought it up.
Well, we
while
know that he
fighting
did
against
know.
David.
We don't have to go back and read. Keep in mind that unless Abner had rejected that statement, because that would be the time to reject it. It didn't say that Abner knew. It said that Abner sought for David. So we don't have to actually read in another section that he did it. The only thing that would make a difference is if we read that he didn't do it. And this is a very important point when it comes to studying the Bible. You will read different sections like here where it may talk about something in the past that we didn't read about. But remember what I said before. Everything in the Bible is in the place it's supposed to be, right? Everything is exactly how it's intended to be. God's Spirit worked through it.
Right.
So maybe the reason we didn't read about it before is because it wasn't necessary until now.
Which, if now we're reading about him making David king, I think it's also funny that he was working with Ishbosheth to go against whoever David had with him.
Exactly.
Ishbosheth claimed, like, throws a false claim on Abner. Now Abner wants to switch up. He doesn't want to switch up over something, over a false claim. Now we need to make David king. When we're reading that you knew he should have been king in the first place.
Well, but here's the thing. It didn't say that he knew that for sure. It said that he sought for David to be king. That's different.
Oh, well, no, let me go back. And Abner had communication with elders of Israel saying, I thought Abner was telling the elders they sought for
No, that's
David.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
My bad, I said it wrong. And Abner had communication with the elders, telling them that they sought for David to be king. We did read about the elders trying to do that before.
Mm-hmm.
Before Nabal, when there was going in this wartime and over Judah and all that, we did see that in different places. So when we look at that, when he's telling them that doesn't mean that Abner knew that David was going to be king. That's Abner telling them that they sought for David to be king. You see how the two are different?
Repeat that last part.
Okay. Abner telling the elders that they sought for David to be king does not mean that he knew that God had intended for David to be king. We read in the last part.
Yeah, because it didn't specifically say that. It just specifically said about the elders.
Exactly. But it doesn't even say that the elders know he's going to be king. It only says that the elders wanted him to be king.
Wanted him to be king.
But with that being said, that doesn't say necessarily that Abner did not know. Because what did we read in Chris's portion?
About him making a team together. Abner making a team
No,
with
at the very
David.
end of Chris, no, my bad, not Chris's dad's. My dad's.
To switch over the kingdom from the house of
back
Saul
to
to
Now
David.
remember, Samuel said this, right? Now, if you keep in mind that Samuel said before he died, before Saul had lost his kingdom, what did he tell Saul?
Oh, you talking about when they went to go seek the woman that talked to the dead? Samuel came back. Why am I here?
Exactly.
So
there's
that
plenty
the kingdom,
of opportunity.
his kids, Saul's kids would die. He would die. The kingdom will be moved over to David. Deal with
it.
Yeah.
So we see this, and that's just one time. We even had where he was told that he was going to lose his kingdom. And then the first thing that Samuel goes and does is find David. A person with any lick of intelligence could look that and put 2 + 2 = 4 and see, oh, David is the next chosen one of God to be king. So we don't know for sure if Abner knew or not, but we definitely knew that it was possible. Now we know from what Dad read that at some point before this moment, that Abner knew that God had intended for David to be king. We know that at some point in the past he knew it, but we don't know when he found out. Because of verse 9 and 10 when I put back on the screen. And so do God to Abner, and more also, except as the Lord hath sworn to David, even so I do to him, to translate the kingdom from the house of Saul, and to set up the throne of David over Israel and over Judah, from Dan even to Beersheba. So, with that being said, at some point before this, Abner had to know about God's promise to David to become king, and about how he was going to take over. At some point, we had to know that, but we don't know when.
Yeah, that's the part of the context that's not more so important. What's more so important was Abner making, the tag team duo, not tag team duo, but joining David's team and them working together, and David becoming the king, and then David getting a call back. I was wondering when she was going to come back.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So, exactly. Good. Nothing to correct on there.
Could I add this one thing, though?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I was saying the only reason why I asked if we should read even further, because Abner, it talks about him speaking to Benjamin, then it talks about him meeting with David, and then I guess David made a feast from the looks. Yeah, David made a feast with him. Then David just said, "Okay, Abner, go ahead and you can leave."
Yeah, but that's the next portion, and if you read in the next couple verses, it still continues from that. That's the transition into the next portion.
Because of who responds to the situation and how what he does
there
next.
You go.
Okay, yeah, that's okay. I see why you separated it, because of what happens after the feast.
Exactly. What happens after the feast is connected to what happens before the feast.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I would love to tell everybody what happens with that, but you'll have to be on Bible study for next time. Tune in next time to Contextual Christian Church Bible Study.
Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, exactly.
Same time, same station.
Exactly. So, with that being said, that's the end of this section. Does anybody have anything they want to add or say before we pray it out? Go ahead and raise your hand by clicking on reactions and then clicking on raise hand. I'll give about 10 seconds from now if you want to ask or say or anything. All right. So that's the end of section. I'll go ahead and pray us out. Everybody bow your heads. Father, thank you for this time of study and for the ability to not just read and understand, but to be able to grow, and for the time of correction that was needed today, but also the time of understanding the things that were gotten to correct. If we don't get corrected, we don't grow to better levels. But we pray also, as today showed, for consistency. As we saw, somebody can go from a level doing extremely well and growing to falling back to messing up on basics. And so we pray that as we go forward, we can take that lesson in the rest of our lives as well. If there's anything that we've gone not as consistent as we need to be, not as prepared, not planning ahead, if there's any part of it that we are not taking the time to do so, we pray first of all for the forgiveness from you, for the fact that we didn't make as much effort as we could have. And we also ask to do a better job of preparing and a better job of making sure that we time things out. We make time for you, and we make time for this, and then we make time to be able to reach that level that we want to reach. In your son's holy and precious name, Jesus Christ Yeshua. Amen.
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 All right, everybody. Go ahead. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow for about next Bible study.
All right.